Imagine waking up one day with a question so powerful it won't let you rest. A question that shakes everything you thought you knew about life, about faith, about purpose. What if I told you that this question led countless people across the world, from all walks of life, to discover a truth that transformed their hearts and minds forever? Today, we're going to take a journey into that very question. What is Islam really about? Not the stories you've heard, not the headlines or rumors, but the truth, the real, living truth behind a faith that has inspired billions. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear could change the way you see the world, your place in it, and maybe even your own story. This is more than a speech. It's an invitation to discover something profound. Let's begin. In the world we live in today, many people's first exposure to Islam comes not from personal experience or thoughtful study, but from headlines, news reports, movies, or casual conversations that paint a distorted picture. The image often presented is one of conflict, extremism, or misunderstanding, which leaves many confused and curious, but also cautious and even fearful. This is where the spark of curiosity is often ignited, not out of genuine interest at first, but because something just doesn't sit right. How can a faith with over 1 billion followers be so misunderstood and misrepresented? This question pushes people to dig beneath the surface and ask, what is Islam really about? People don't want to be passive consumers of secondhand information anymore. They want the truth for themselves. This misinformation isn't accidental. It's shaped by complex political, social, and cultural forces that sometimes aim to create division rather than understanding. For many Westerners, this means they grow up with a subconscious bias against Islam, absorbing fear and suspicion from their environment. Yet beneath that bias is a genuine human desire to know what's true, what's just, and what's meaningful. When someone decides to break through the noise, they often find themselves standing at a crossroads. They realize that what they have been told might be only one side of the story, and they become determined to find out the other side, to hear the voices of Muslims themselves, to read the sources firsthand rather than rely on distorted narratives. That initial curiosity can be awkward and uncertain. It's not easy to question long-held beliefs, especially when those beliefs are reinforced by family, community, or the media. Sometimes people face ridicule or resistance for even asking questions about Islam. But that very resistance can fuel a stronger need to understand. Because when you're told something repeatedly, it can either make you accept it blindly or drive you to investigate and find your own answers. This investigation often leads to surprising discoveries. The more they learn, the more they realize the simplicity and beauty behind what was once obscured by stereotypes. As they encounter Muslims who live their faith authentically, the curiosity deepens. The person who prays quietly at work, the neighbor who fasts during Ramadan with a peaceful smile, the friends who treat others with kindness and justice. All these real-life examples begin to challenge the preconceived notions they held. These human connections provide a window into Islam that no headline ever could. The curiosity is no longer about proving what they were told true or false. It becomes a genuine quest for understanding. It becomes a journey from suspicion to respect, from fear to fascination. In this process, people start to see Islam not as a distant foreign idea, but as something relevant, profound, and even comforting. They begin to question what they thought they knew and start to see the richness of the faith as a source of guidance and peace rather than conflict and confusion. The misinformation that once clouded their view begins to clear, replaced by a hunger for truth that drives them forward. This initial curiosity, sparked by misinformation and fueled by a deep inner need, becomes the first step on a transformative path toward discovering what Islam is really about. Many people's journey toward Islam often begins during a time of personal crisis or deep inner questioning. Life has a way of shaking us, breaking down the walls of certainty we think we have. It might be the loss of a loved one, a painful failure, a period of loneliness, or simply a growing sense that something is missing, something that all the distractions and achievements can't fill. In those moments of vulnerability, when the noise quiets and the heart aches, people begin to search for answers that go beyond what the world offers. They start asking, why am I here? What is the purpose of all this? Is there more to life than what I've been told? This kind of questioning is universal and timeless, but it becomes urgent and personal in the face of real pain. It strips away the superficial and forces a person to look inward. It's often this inner crisis that opens a door to something new, a willingness to explore paths they might have previously dismissed or ignored. It's not an intellectual curiosity alone, it's a hunger of the soul. When everything else fails to satisfy, the heart turns towards something greater. For many, that something becomes Islam. Islam speaks directly to the human condition in these moments. It acknowledges suffering, recognizes doubt, and offers a framework for understanding life's trials. The faith doesn't pretend life will be easy or that pain will vanish. Instead, it teaches that hardship is part of the human experience, and that through patience, prayer, and submission to God's will, one can find meaning and strength. This message resonates deeply with those who are searching. It provides a sense of hope that the struggles are not random or meaningless, but part of a greater plan, one in which every hardship carries a lesson and every loss can lead to growth. During these personal crises, individuals often begin to seek out answers by listening to stories, reading sacred texts, or talking to those who have experienced similar journeys. They find comfort in the idea that they are not alone in their suffering and that others have found a path to healing through faith. This sense of community and connection becomes crucial. It is not just about belief, it is about belonging and being understood. Islam's emphasis on compassion, mercy, and forgiveness offers a balm to wounded hearts. This period of searching is rarely straightforward. It is filled with questions, doubts, and sometimes resistance, from within and from loved ones who may not understand the transformation underway. Yet the depth of the crisis pushes many to persevere, to seek truth even when it's uncomfortable. It is in this process that many discover the essence of Islam, not as a rigid set of rules, but as a source of comfort, guidance, and purpose. The teachings become more than words. They become a lifeline. Through this intimate and often difficult process, people find a new perspective on life. The crisis that once threatened to destroy them becomes the catalyst for renewal. The questions that once haunted them lead to clarity, and the faith they discover becomes not just an answer, but a source of enduring peace. In their darkest moments, they begin to see a light that comes from surrendering to a higher truth and finding hope beyond the pain. At the heart of Islam lies a concept so simple yet profound that it transforms everything: Tawhid, the oneness of God. For many seekers, this principle becomes the cornerstone of their understanding and the key that unlocks the entire faith. It is a belief that there's only one creator, one sovereign, one ultimate reality, no partners, no intermediaries, no division. This idea, when truly grasped, cuts through confusion and complexity, offering clarity and focus in a world often filled with contradictions and competing voices. What makes Tawhid so captivating is its purity and directness. It's not clouded by hierarchy or myth. It doesn't require complicated rituals to reach God. Instead, it invites a personal and intimate connection with the divine, based on sincere recognition that God alone is worthy of worship. This simplicity brings a sense of relief and certainty to those who have felt lost in religious confusion or spiritual emptiness. For many, it answers a deep yearning to connect with something eternal and unchanging, something beyond human limitations. When someone encounters this concept for the first time, it often challenges everything they thought they knew about God and spirituality. In many cultures, ideas about God are mixed with cultural practices, superstitions, or even political power. Tawhid strips all that away and asks the seeker to meet God directly, on their own terms, with nothing standing between them. This directness can feel both liberating and intimidating, but it ultimately invites honesty and sincerity. It demands a personal commitment rather than blind tradition. This understanding also changes how a person views themselves and the world. Recognizing the oneness of God means recognizing the interconnectedness and purpose behind creation. It means life is not random or chaotic, but part of a deliberate design. This realization gives meaning to the struggles, the joys, and the challenges of daily existence. It instills a sense of accountability and responsibility, because if there is one ultimate judge, then every action matters. This accountability isn't meant to burden, but to inspire mindfulness and moral clarity. For many who come to Islam, Tawhid becomes a source of immense peace. It provides a framework where doubts can be settled and questions answered. When the heart is troubled by conflicting beliefs or uncertainty, returning to the simple truth of God's oneness grounds them. It serves as a spiritual anchor amid life's storms. It also fosters humility, recognizing that human knowledge is limited and that ultimate wisdom belongs to God alone. This principle of oneness also shapes the practice of Islam. Worship is directed solely to God, without intermediaries or idols. This direct relationship encourages sincerity, devotion, and trust. It transforms acts of worship from mere rituals into moments of connection and reflection. Prayer, fasting, charity, and pilgrimage all become ways to deepen the awareness of this singular truth. Ultimately, the clarity of Tawhid is what many seekers describe as a turning point. It moves faith from abstract ideas into lived reality. It builds a foundation that supports all other beliefs and practices in Islam. It gives seekers a clear answer to their search for meaning, a truth so simple yet so powerful that it reshapes their entire worldview. In understanding and embracing the oneness of God, they find the compass they had been searching for, guiding them toward peace, purpose, and spiritual fulfillment. One of the most eye-opening realizations for those who begin to explore Islam is that it is much more than just a religion. It is a complete way of life. When people first hear about Islam, they might think of rituals like prayer or fasting or certain cultural customs tied to Muslim communities. But as they dig deeper, they discover that Islam offers a comprehensive framework that touches every aspect of human existence: spiritual, ethical, social, and personal. It is not a checklist of obligations, but a balanced system designed to bring harmony and purpose to life. This holistic nature of Islam often surprises seekers. It addresses the relationship between humans and God, but also human relationships with one another and with the world around them. From how you treat your parents and neighbors to how you conduct business and manage your finances, Islam provides guidance aimed at building a just and compassionate society. This is why many converts find themselves not only embracing new beliefs, but also adopting new habits, values, and a new sense of responsibility. The teachings emphasize balance between worship and work, individual rights and community duties, discipline and mercy. This balance offers a blueprint for living in a way that nurtures the soul while meeting the practical demands of daily life. It challenges the false dichotomy that spirituality must be separate from the material world. Instead, Islam teaches that every moment can be an opportunity for worship, and every action can be imbued with meaning when done with the right intention. For those coming from cultures where religion might feel disconnected from everyday life or confined to certain spaces, this integration is deeply appealing. It provides a sense of order and clarity that counters the chaos and moral confusion so common today. The routines of prayer 5 times a day, fasting during Ramadan, giving charity. These are not arbitrary rules, but tools to develop mindfulness, self-control, gratitude, and empathy. They are practices that shape character and create rhythm and purpose. Islam also offers a clear ethical framework based on justice, honesty, kindness, and respect for human dignity. This ethical dimension guides how to engage with others, promotes social justice, and encourages acts of kindness and charity. For many seekers, this emphasis on ethics becomes a source of inspiration and transformation. It challenges them to be better people, not just better believers. As people live Islam as a way of life, they often find their internal conflicts begin to resolve. Decisions become easier when guided by clear principles. Life feels more coherent and meaningful. They realize that Islam doesn't restrict freedom, but rather protects it by providing boundaries that nurture growth and prevent harm. The faith encourages education, work, family life, and community involvement, all within the context of a higher purpose. This practical, all-encompassing approach often leads seekers to a deep appreciation for the wisdom embedded in Islamic teachings. It becomes clear that Islam is not just about rituals or identity, but about shaping a whole person and building a just society. This understanding moves faith from theory into action, transforming not only how people pray or fast, but how they live, interact, and contribute to the world around them. It shows them a path toward a meaningful, balanced, and purposeful life that they can embody every day. The Qur'an holds a unique place in the hearts of those who begin to explore Islam. For many seekers, it is not just another religious book. It is a living, breathing message that speaks directly to the deepest parts of their being. When they first encounter the Qur'an, what strikes them is its language, its tone, and the way it addresses the reader personally. Almost as if it knows their thoughts, their doubts, and their fears. This connection often feels startling and profound, drawing people in on a level beyond intellectual curiosity. Many who turn to the Qur'an do so during moments of searching and uncertainty. They find verses that seem to answer questions they hadn't even fully formed yet. The text doesn't come across as dry or dogmatic. Rather, it offers guidance, wisdom, and solace. It invites reflection and contemplation, encouraging readers to ponder the natural world, the human soul, and the purpose of existence. This thoughtful approach resonates deeply, especially for those who have grown tired of superficial explanations or rigid doctrines. The Qur'an also challenges the reader to think critically. It presents signs in the universe, historical examples, and moral lessons that urge self-examination. It calls people to recognize the signs of God's presence in creation and within themselves, fostering a sense of wonder and humility. This intellectual engagement often breaks down barriers of skepticism and opens the door to belief. For many, it becomes clear that the Qur'an is not just a book, but a guide for life, addressing both the mind and the heart. Emotionally, the Qur'an provides comfort to those struggling with pain or confusion. It acknowledges human vulnerability and offers hope. Verses about God's mercy, forgiveness, and compassion provide a balm to wounded souls. The repeated emphasis on God's closeness and care reassures readers that they are never alone, no matter how lost or broken they may feel. This emotional connection often sparks a deep spiritual awakening that goes far beyond academic understanding. Moreover, the Qur'an challenges many preconceived notions. It corrects misunderstandings about Islam and Muslims, presenting a vision of faith that is inclusive, just, and rooted in peace. It invites readers to look beyond stereotypes and see the true message of Islam, a message centered on submission to God's will and striving to live a righteous life. This revelation often leads to a transformation in perception, breaking down fears and biases. The rhythmic and poetic nature of the Qur'an's language also captivates many. Even those who do not understand Arabic find themselves moved by its sound and cadence, which adds a powerful aesthetic dimension to the experience. This artistic beauty enhances the spiritual impact and draws people closer to the text. For many seekers, the Qur'an becomes a lifelong companion, a source of guidance during difficult times and a reminder of purpose and hope. It inspires not only belief but action, encouraging readers to live with integrity, kindness, and awareness of their responsibilities. The Qur'an's ability to address both the practical and the spiritual aspects of life makes it a central pillar in the journey toward understanding what Islam really is. In encountering the Qur'an, many find that their initial curiosity turns into conviction, their questions into clarity, and their doubts into faith. The book becomes more than words on a page. It becomes a transformative experience that touches the soul and shapes the direction of their lives. One of the most profound realizations for many who come to Islam is discovering the true meaning of submission and how it leads to inner peace. At first, the word submission can feel heavy, even frightening. It may bring to mind images of restriction, loss of freedom, or surrendering one's will to an external authority. But as people explore Islam more deeply, they find that submission to God is not about oppression. It is the very key to liberation and tranquility. This unexpected peace that comes through surrender is often the turning point in many journeys. Submission in Islam means recognizing that there is a higher wisdom beyond human understanding and choosing to align one's life with that truth. It's an act of trust that the Creator knows best, that His guidance is for the benefit of the soul and the community. This submission is not blind obedience. It is an empowered choice made with awareness and conviction. By submitting, a person frees themselves from the burden of trying to control everything, from the anxiety of uncertainty, and from the chaos of conflicting desires. Many people who embrace Islam describe a deep relief that comes with surrendering their worries and doubts. They realize that trying to navigate life on their own terms, without acknowledging a higher authority, often leads to frustration and despair. When they submit to God, they feel a sense of security and comfort, knowing they are not alone in their struggles. This submission creates a relationship based on love, reverence, and hope, rather than fear and obligation. The peace found in submission is also connected to the discipline and structure Islam provides. Following the prescribed acts of worship and ethical guidelines brings order to a chaotic world. It creates a rhythm to life. Prayers at fixed times, fasting during Ramadan, regular acts of charity that cultivates mindfulness and self-control. These practices are not arbitrary. They serve to remind believers of their connection to God and to keep them grounded in faith. Through this disciplined surrender, individuals experience a transformation of character, gaining patience, gratitude, and humility. This peace is not merely internal, but spills over into how believers engage with the world. Submission to God's will encourages compassion, justice, and responsibility. It shapes how people treat others and handle challenges. When a person understands their life as part of a greater divine plan, they become more resilient in the face of hardship and more generous in their dealings. The fear of judgment is replaced by the hope for mercy and the desire to live righteously. Many who were initially resistant to the idea of submission find that it becomes their greatest strength. It empowers them to say no to harmful behaviors, to make sacrifices for what is right, and to maintain faith even when faced with opposition or hardship. This surrender is not weakness, but the ultimate expression of strength. Strength to trust, to persevere, and to live with integrity. In this way, submission in Islam redefines freedom. It frees the soul from the chains of ego and selfishness, and frees the mind from confusion and doubt. It offers a profound inner peace that comes from knowing one is living in harmony with divine truth. This peace is the ultimate reward for those who take the step to embrace Islam, and it is the essence of what the faith offers to anyone searching for meaning and serenity in a turbulent world. As we come to the close of this journey together, remember that the path to understanding Islam is deeply personal and profoundly transformative. It begins with a spark of curiosity, often ignited by questions and doubts, and leads to a discovery of truth rooted in the oneness of God, a holistic way of life, and a sacred text that speaks directly to the heart. It is through submission, not as limitation, but as liberation, that countless souls find peace, purpose, and strength beyond measure. This is more than a faith. It is a complete way of living that calls to the very core of our humanity. To everyone listening, whether you are just beginning to ask questions or are already walking this path, I wish you courage and clarity. May your search for truth bring you closer to a peace that no worldly hardship can shake. Know that the journey is as important as the destination, and every step you take is a step toward light and understanding. Thank you for opening your hearts and minds today. May your path be filled with wisdom, hope, and endless blessings. Good luck on your journey. You are not alone.